This is the Blaring Out with Eric Blair show, and we're here at NAMM 2012 here at the Seymour Duncan booth with the man himself, Seymour Duncan. How you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing great. How you guys doing?
Oh, we're doing fantastic. Tell me how the Seymour Duncan pickup was born.
Well, I was a young player playing back east, and somebody actually borrowed my guitar, and they got the high E string on my Telecaster hooked under the bridge pickup. And I had to play the whole weekend with just a rhythm pickup, and it squealed so bad, it wasn't wax potted or anything. So that Monday I went into school, and I was in biology class, and I had my guitar pickup under the microscope, my tele pickup, trying to figure out why this thing didn't work, And I saw all these like little pieces of hair and wax, little crumbly stuff coming off of it, And they got into the pickup string. The string from the guitar lodged into the pickup, and it just destroyed the pickup. So I was trying to pull it apart, and then the teacher taps me. She says, "Seymour, what are you doing?" I'm supposed to be dissecting a frog, And so I decided that she said, "Come back after class." I went in. So that was my first pickup that I had to fix, and I needed a coil machine to wind it. So my uncle found the magnet wire for me. It was 42 plain enamel. And I used a record player that went 33 1/3, 45, and 78 to be my winding machine.
Wow.
So I made a little block of wood and I put it on there with 3 little pinholes to mount the tele pickup. So the thing would spin. And if 33 1/3 is like, one turn, and that was slow. Then I went up to 45, so it was going a little bit faster. And John, my keyboard player, I said, "John, man, that thing is too slow, man." And we were like both 16, 17 years old. And I said, "Put it up to 78, man." So this thing started spinning. The pickup flew off, hit the wall, it broke the fiber, and I had to make a new top piece for it. And the only thing I could find, I'm looking around, I said, "I've seen this material before. It's called vulcanized fiber." And what actually happened was I saw my drummer's drum case, and I said, "There's that material, and I need a piece of it. How am I going to do it?" So I cut a 1-inch strip all the way around. It took me like 3 hours to cut this strip off, just so I could get one little 3.5-inch piece, to make the file. And then I finally got the piece, and I sanded it, and then I had to mark where each hole had to go for the pole piece. So I had to then drill it. I had to mark it, do a little pin drill, then another drill, and make it bigger and bigger. And I finally got it big enough, and then I got the piece on and put lacquer on it, and that was my first bobbin. And then I had to go back to like 45 RPMs again on the record player to wind it. It took me like an hour and a half to wind this thing. But that was my first pickup, and I was about 16 years old when I did that, So for me, it was a real learning experience, and I've been doing it ever since,
How do you feel the humbucking pickup has changed the sound of rock and roll?
Well, Seth Lover designed it in 1955, and it was very important because a lot of the clubs that a lot of musicians would play at, they always had like the stage lights or fluorescent lights in there, and your single coil pickups would buzz so bad. You would get so much hum or buzz, and it was just so annoying for the players, And so then I made friends. I was friends with Seth Lover, who invented the pickup for Gibson. And so when I started the company, I went down and spent several days with him and everything, and he showed me all his notes, all his original drawings and everything. So for me, it was incredible to learn from him. I got it from the first hand itself. I was very, very lucky, and he just took a liking to me, and we've been friends till his death. And so the humbucking is very important because it's so important for a lot of situations where you need it quiet. And then there's a lot of incarnations of it, like I did the stack pickup, and so the little mini humbucker he designed for Epiphone and Gibson, and then he designed the Fender humbucker for Fender. So it was really kind of neat, and all that technology was really pretty new back in the 50s and 60s, and then so I was very fortunate to have learned a lot from him, from it. But it's very important for, especially in a place like this, to have a humbucking pickup. Otherwise, it would just be so so noisy in here with single coils, and it would be buzzing and all this other stuff, you know. So it's funny, you know.
And you've hung out with an illustrious gang of rock stars over the years, and one of the stories is you've lived with Jeff Beck.
Well, he stayed. I would go to his house in London, and I would keep his hot rod when he had it I had it in Santa Barbara in my garage for a long time. You know, it was his 32 Ford, the red one. That it was the last one I think that Von Dutch pinstriped, and Von Dutch was a famous, very famous pinstriper for hot rods with Big Daddy Roth and everything. So. But Jeff, I've done a lot for him. You know, he gave me the old original Esquire from the Yardbirds. We sort of traded. I made him the Telegib. I call it the Telegib, which was like my Seymour Duncan 35 that he got a Grammy with, and he worked with George Martin, and he did the Blow by Blow, which was like the song of the year and everything, and album of the year. So I've had a great relationship with so many great players, and I have this great Joe Bonamassa you're going to see in a few minutes.
Awesome.
Yeah, him and I are going to play in a little bit, and but I've been very lucky. You work, with Jeff Beck and Jimi Hendrix, and
now tell me about Jimi Hendrix.
Oh man, I spent a day and a half with him, and we talked about everything about guitars, and he showed me how to do the tremolo and how to pluck the strings and how to pluck behind the headstock and just all these things he did. I mean, he was so open to me because he knew that I really understood what he was talking about, what he was trying to do and everything, and always looking for sounds. And I made a guitar for him that I gave to Roger Mayer, who was his guitar tech, and it was the white blonde Strat that he would play all the time, and those were my pickups in it. So I was so fortunate to have had a chance to work with him, make pickups for him, and have him use them, and we just had a great time talking, man. And the pickups did what he liked, man, what he did with it. He did a lot of recordings with them. I'm in the Seattle, this EMP, life story about Jimi Hendrix, all the DVDs and stuff, and my photos are in there. And I had so many great photos taken with Jimmy, and that I took of him. And but he was a very, very nice man. You know, he told everybody to stay away because we're talking guitar shop. You know, and he was very giving to me, and I was very proud of that, and I'll never forget it, and he showed me some really cool things, I'm lucky.
What about now, there's word that you helped create the Eddie Van Halen Frankenstein pickup.
Oh, yeah.
Tell me about this.
Well, I was making that for Eddie back in like 76, 77,
Really?
For stuff, and I was doing a lot of rewinds for him. I would take old PAS and start making stuff for him, but yeah, I've done a lot of oddball things for Eddie. And a lot of artists don't talk about a lot of things because, for one, they don't really know what goes into a pickup, when you're making it. And I have all these little tricks that I do and everything with calibrating and magnets and different gausses and different coil winds and different way I put the wire on. So there's a lot of little things like that. And but he's just a brilliant guitar player too. Eddie's always amazed me. I was very lucky to work with Michael Jackson. I worked with David Williams, and I made stacked pickups for him when he did Beat It and Billie Jean and everything. All those cool rhythm tracks you would hear, din 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 din, and then Eddie would come in and say do a guitar solo over top. But Eddie would just come in and just do a one or twoser, man, and he was right there all the time. Just a fantastic guy. But I've worked with guys like Robin Trower, Bridge of Sighs, and Robert Palmer. I used to do a lot of work for, and I mean, so many. One of my favorite players was Paul Kossoff with the band Free.
Yeah, Free.
Yeah, all those. I worked with that Golden Earring and did the pickups for Radar Love and all this stuff.
Tell me about Paul Kossoff. At what point did you meet him, and what did you think of him as a person?
Oh, well, he's a real neat. I mean, I worried about him, the alcohol and stuff sometimes, but he very much loves his guitar too. And he always said, man, he says, everybody's telling me to get a new guitar because his guitar was so worn and beat.
It was a thick Les Paul, wasn't it? Like a solid Les Paul.
Oh, it was a great Les Paul,
Yeah.
but the finish was all faded on it, and it was all dinged and banged and this and that, And I think Paul Rogers actually ended up with it, which I'm very, very glad that he did,
Seymour, the thing is that the guitar the instrument becomes a part of the person that's playing it. It's
sure
a
does.
symbiotic
It sure does.
relationship,
Yeah.
and it's just like a girlfriend. So if it's banged up a little bit, they don't care. They want to keep having that relationship.
It's that whole aura of the guitar. I mean, it is. It's like your little baby, you know, and you don't want to. That's your tone, man. That's your sound, you know, and that is so important. A lot of people don't realize that. Like Roy Buchanan had a guitar called Nancy, and somebody had repaired it, and they actually changed the pickup in it. You know, so he never played that guitar again. He just like lost. That was part of his soul, and the way that pickup would respond to the way he was playing, you know. And I've seen a lot of that, you know, it happened to Jimmy Page with his old telly that he used for the Led Zeppelin albums, and somebody worked on it, and they changed the wiring in it, and it never sounded the same to Jimmy, you know, and so he didn't really play that too much. And then he started using the Les Pauls and everything, and but I'd be backstage with these guys, and I would just be watching, you know. And I was on the Arms tour with Jimmy Page, you know, Eric Clapton and Jeff Beck.
Now,
man.
you've worked with Clapton, too.
Oh, yeah.
His tone, still to this day, I just watched the Bonamassa special at Royal Albert Hall, and Clapton gets out there, and his tone is just, it's like fire.
I know. And the neat thing is when I was doing the Arms tour, I had a little Fender Princeton reverb and just a Strat that they could come and just warm up while their gear was on stage. So Eric would come in and would play, and man, you know, there's Eric, man. You could hear it with that same guitar and same amplifier. Then Jeff Beck would come out and do like People Get Ready, or just do some of his little riffs, you know. And God, here's Jeff, man. And then Jimmy Page would come out and start playing, and you would hear his style. And it really made me realize that so much of the tone is really in their hands and how they pick, or how they what position they're playing in, how hard, how soft. And that's so important to these young guitar players to learn that you know, delicate style of playing and technique, and just really enhance it within themselves. And so many young guitar players always want to sound, you know, I want to, you know, set up to sound like Eddie Van Halen, or I want to set up to sound like, you know, Jeff Beck or something. But so much of it's in it. And one kid said, man, I have Eddie's amplifier, I have his guitar, I have his pickups, I have his pedals, I have this and that, I use the strings, but why don't I sound like Eddie, you know? And I said, son, you know, the big part of it is really in the technique of their
human element,
their instinctive way that they play, you know, and kids have to realize that, which is very important, you know.
Well, two more questions. Randy Rhodes.
Yeah.
Did you have a relationship with him?
Yes, through Charvel Jackson, Grover introduced me to him, and but he would use a lot of the Duncan customs and Duncan distortions, you know, and he was a very, very talented young player, you know, and same with Paul Kossoff, you know. I mean, these guys had such a great potential, you know, and we lost them so early. And like we lost Danny Gatton, you know, and Roy Buchanan and Albert Collins. I mean, these guys were just tone meisters, you know. And Randy Rhodes, he had a whole instinctive way of playing too, and his approach, man, it was just there were so many fans to this day just still love the way he plays, you know. And a couple weeks ago, I got a real nice email from Jason Becker, you know, and you know, he wants me to come see him and everything.
Yeah, Jason's had a hard time.
Yeah, hard time, and I love these kids, you know, and you want to help them and help them help other people what they're trying to do. And to me, that's such an important part. And I'm involved with Steve Miller and all these foundations, Notes for Notes, to help young kids get music in their hands, you know, and get guitars or instruments. And we're really trying to do that a lot, you know.
It's been great talking to you, Seymour Duncan.
Thank you.
Blaring Out with Eric Blair Show with Seymour Duncan at 2012 NAMM. Signing off.
The Blaring Out Show.